morning comes from Mark, the 9th chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus and his disciples were passing through Galilee, but Jesus did not want anyone to know that he was there. During this time, he was teaching the disciples that the Son of Man was going to be betrayed and handed over and be put to death, but 3 days later, he would rise again. Now, the disciples did not know exactly what this meant, but they were afraid to ask Jesus. And when they came to Capernaum, they went to a house, and Jesus said to the disciples, "What all were you arguing about back there on the road?" Now, the disciples remained silent because they were arguing about which one of them is the greatest, and they did not want Jesus to know about this. So Jesus called the 12 together, and he sat down, and he said to them, "Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all." And then there was a child that was in their midst, and he took the child and he placed the child in his arms, and he said, "Whoever welcomes a little one like this in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me." This is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. Are you a goat? Yep. Thanks, Zoe. Do you know what goat means? Have you heard it? Greatest of all time? Not the animal, but the greatest of all time. It's often used in sports, especially, to talk about the greatest athlete in a sport. And people like Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Serena Williams have all been called a GOAT, or the GOAT. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick have also been called a GOAT, which is just one more reason to give thanks that the Eagles won the Super Bowl. No one didn't hear so much about it this last fall, or this last spring. There was a new GOAT that was crowned last Sunday. A man named Ulrich Kipchoge ran the Berlin Marathon and crushed the world record for a marathon by shaving over a minute off the previous world record. He ran an entire marathon in 2 hours, 1 minute, and 39 seconds. He is now a GOAT, the GOAT, when it comes to marathons. The world record holder. So how about you? Are you a GOAT? Are you the GOAT? Are you the greatest of all time?
No.
No. What, Zoe? You are just who you are. So most of us would probably say, and did immediately say, that you are not the GOAT, that you are not the greatest of all time. And even people who've been called a GOAT by other people, people like Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Serena Williams and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and Ulrich Kipchoge, all of them actually say that they are not the GOAT, that they are not the greatest of all time. They point out errors that they have made. They point out times that they could have trained harder. They point out people who they think is better than them, but maybe played at a different era than they did. They point out people who they say is the greatest, and people who make them strive to be greater. But we are like those disciples who are arguing about which one of them is the greatest. We often want to be great, but we don't want to admit this. We don't want to admit to others how much we are striving to be great. We all have had years of our self-confidence whittled away just a little bit, that we can say that we are not the greatest, which is why I asked the kids how great they are on a scale of 1 to 10. Would you all say that you are an infinity out of 10? I wish I could say that. I wish I could say I was a 10 out of 10. But there is something about kids that don't have this problem. Kids know that they are great, don't they? Have this evidence earlier. And it's a great thing because kids know that they don't even think they're great. They know they are great. And they have that blessing of not having people whittle away at their self-confidence yet. And I hope that it never will be, but unfortunately, I know it will. They know that they can do anything, and they know that they can grow up to be anything. They know that they are the greatest. Guess what? Each and every one of us is the greatest as well. But when are we our greatest? After this argument with the disciples, or amongst the disciples about who was the greatest, Jesus first tells the disciples, whoever wants to be must be last of all and servant of all. And then he takes a child and says, whoever welcomes such a child in my name welcomes me. Jesus did this to remind the disciples and to remind us that we are all great, just like children know that they are. But we are our personal greatest when we are serving others, when we are not putting ourselves first, when we are seeing ourselves as last. Just like any great athlete doesn't see themselves as the best. They're striving constantly to be better. They're striving constantly to be the best. And they look at other people as competition to help them get there. We are our best when we put ourselves last, when we serve others first. And that is true whether you are an athlete because you are looking at how to raise up the next generation of people in your sport, or if you're one of us everyday schmoes who will never run a marathon in 2 hours and 1 minute and 39 seconds, or maybe even do a marathon ever. But we are our best when we are putting others first. When we are serving God's people with our hands, when we feed the hungry and clothe the naked and support widows and orphans and visit the imprisoned and welcome immigrants, strangers, and refugees and educate the young, we are our best, our greatest, when we care about others, when we serve others first. When we put ourselves last in order to put others first, it is then that we are our greatest of all times. It is then that we are all the goat. And you are each and every one of you a goat. Because you are the greatest. Because God has made you the greatest.